Hello, I've decided to make this video in order to compare both types, since I think it can be quite easy to get mistyped as either INFJ or INTJ, because on the surface they can be really similar because they use that dominant introverted function. Another reason why I'm making this video is probably some of you already know, other people might suspect it, for other people it might be obvious. And for some other people, yes, I got mistyped, and hence I've decided to clarify everything and share my experience, hoping that it might be helpful for some people who are also confused about whether they are INTJ or they are INFJ, because even if you keep taking these tests over and over again, and there's no real guarantee that the results will be accurate. Like you cannot really know whether there's some bias going on. So in order to really know your type, you need to go into that cognitive functions and listen to some people, ask questions, and I think that's the only way to actually know your type, rather than just following the results, because it can be really easy to actually, to get that result and then just follow this label and believe hopelessly that you are this type and not the other, like I was with INTJ, despite the fact that I've been getting the results for INTJ and occasionally for INFJ, but each time I looked at the results for INFJ, I was like, oh, feeler, no, I'm too rational for a feeler, but that wasn't the case at all. So obviously the major difference between those types is that, in short, INFJs seem to like people a little bit more than INTJs. INFJs tend to actually put an effort into understanding the other person and kind of being considerate with the other person's point of view. Whether they agree with the other person or disagree doesn't really matter. Whereas INTJs, they will, if they're gonna stick to the truth, they're gonna do everything to protect it, to protect this opinion, this assumption, this fact, regardless whether it hurts another person or not. That is not to say that INFJs will enjoy kind of living with lies or approving lies in another person, because of their ability to feel empathy towards other people. They will try to present the truth in a slightly different manner, kind of more tactful and more considerate towards another person. So that's the first thing, kind of major difference. Another thing is that INFJs, if they want to, they can appear quite outgoing and bubbly, and hence there's that stereotype that INFJs, always, whatever video you're gonna watch on YouTube, INFJ is gonna be the bubbly type, the one that smiles a lot, laughs a lot, and jokes a lot, which is not the case at all, because INFJs are still introverts. They need a lot of time to recharge, to process their emotions, their thoughts, their opinions and assumptions. So at the same time, I'm not sure if having the stereotype for INTJ as being the really rational one, logical one, and straight to the point, without smiling and laughing and speaking like a robot, should be accepted either, because each person will be different at the end. Next thing is that we got that F letter in INFJ type. It stands for extroverted feeling. So basically INFJs will be quite good in spotting emotions and feelings in other people. They will feel empathy, they will be kind of easily moved by other people's problems, and at the same time, that's the thing which INFJs and INTJs got in common, is that both types can be really good at predicting other people's behavior. However, due to the differences of how the introverted intuition is fueled, they will come up to the same conclusions, but taking different roads. So INTJs they are directed by, obviously they got that dominant introverted intuition just like INFJs, but this intuition is fueled by extroverted thinking. So when they look at other people, they will focus on something more concrete like behavior, motivation, thinking processes, and they will look at things which are kind of resembling facts, concrete details, if that makes sense. Whereas INFJs will focus on kind of emotional realms, kind of feelings, and less concrete things, if that makes sense. But again, both types um, will come to the same conclusions because that introverted intuition will uh, help them to see patterns and know things without knowing how, like kind of mainstream description, but that's how the things are. Another big difference between both types is the shadow processes, shadow functions. So some people focus on just flipping the letters. Other people will just focus on flipping the cognitive functions in order to see that shadow processes going on. I think both theories can be correct. However, if you just flip the cognitive functions, you will have just like a mirror of the person, of the type, rather than a shadow. So if we just flip the letters of the type, as in the case of INTJ, we got SFP, which is performer. So the shadow of INTJ will be kind of a person who likes to play tricks on others, probably moving a lot, playing a lot, kind of putting the persona out there. And the shadow will appear where obviously we're going to lose our guard, when we will feel less in control, when we be in a stressful situation. Whereas the shadow of INFJ is that door. And this person is kind of narcissistic and forcing their way into things. Kind of the world revolves around them. They seeking thrill, they seeking adventure, they seeking constant stimulation, and that's something that the shadow feeds the main functions in both types, in any type. So if you're in a doubt, I know it can be quite easily to be confused because both types, when under stress, they become kind of overly obsessed over details, over doing everything right, overdoing things in order to feed their sensing functions, the less developed sensing functions. So if we go even deeper, the shadow of INTJ will try to basically mess around, play tricks, and kind of put the persona out there, have fun, and stuff like that. Whereas the shadow of INFJ will actually try to do everything perfect, everything their way. They will seek admiration from other people, validation, in order to feed their ego. So that's another difference between those two types. I think that's pretty much it. I know that I've been making some videos on Schizoid, and in fact the Schizoid personality also fits into an INFJ, and I've put the references in the description. It's from the Right Diagnosis website. Sounds convincing, but it kind of makes sense. I mean, INFJ can be quite a weird type. They can socialize a lot for some period of time, but then they will just disappear into the hermit mode and will try to consciously avoid other people and isolate themselves, just as Schizoid. And obviously INTJs will do the same, maybe for different reasons, but again the pattern resembles the Schizoid isolation mechanisms. There's one more area quite interesting in comparing both types, and it's related to physical details, physical characteristics. So the first obvious sign, the first obvious thing is if you look at the eyes. The eyes of INTJs will be a little bit shocked, they will be sharp, and they will look like they're processing a lot of information in this particular situation. So the eyes will be probably just as big as INFJs, but they will be more kind of shocked. It would seem like they went through a lot before, that they've been probably terrified, probably from their own thinking. Whereas INFJ's eyes, they can be also quite big, but they are more sad. They appear like they can see through other people. They're quite deep and not as shocked as INTJs. I hope these pictures of eyes kind of give you a clue what I'm talking about, because it's quite difficult to describe certain things in words. And one more thing related to eyes, the difference between how INFJ and how INTJ look. Basically, both types will kind of flip they side all the time. However, INTJ will flick their eyes very quickly, and they will flick them much quicker than INFJ. I know that that's a really subtle sign, but it actually works if you look for INFJs and INTJs on the net. Whereas INFJs, they also flick they side, but they do it slower, and very often they look down and not when they are trying to think. So they will probably speak, and then look down in order to search for the next thing to say. Another thing is that because both types can correlate, not necessary, there's no kind of specific rule, but they can correlate with schizoid personality. They will get that kind of puffy shoulders, if that makes sense. That's a schizoid thing, where you naturally kind of do this. Your shoulders go up, and that can relate to both types. So if a person, if their shoulders are kind of tense, they are probably either INTJ or INFJ. Yeah, so that's another trait to look at. So I think that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for watching.